Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, welcome to the September meeting of the East Lampeter Sewer Authority. And Brent, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We see your name, yeah. We can hear you, yeah.
Good afternoon.
Members present are Todd Stump, myself, Rick Robinson, Fred Clark, and Vinny Patel. The real important people are Tara Hitchens, Matt Seachy, Mr. Charlie Thomas, and Ralph Hutchison. I invite you to join us in the pledge of the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We haven't had the minutes very long, so I'm not sure anyone had a chance to look over them or not, but if there's not any additions or corrections, we're going to approve them as they're written. Treasurer's report, sanitary sewer checking account. Any bills? Requisitions.
There are two requisitions here today. The first is requisition number 03-601. This is payable to Herbert Roland and Grubik for projects related to the Staff Run Pump Station upgrades, as well as the State Route 3132 bridge replacement, the sewer relocation associated with it. The total amount of the requisition is $2,072.70. Second is requisition number 03-602. This is in the amount of, or is payable to Associated Building Inspections, LLC. This is for the building permit associated with the Stauffer Run Pump Station Improvement Project. The total cost there is $2,610.
$2,610 to inspect the building.
Sir.
Ooh. How much time does that involve, or do we have any choice of who does that, or is that just normal? That kind of,
It's broken up. The plan review fee was $600. Administrative fee was $100. Courier fee of $20 and inspection fees of $1,890. They're doing the electrical inspections, the any other like, structural inspections for the building itself.
I guess I'm just asking, is it just one of them things? It's like an open checkbook for a company like that, or what? I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that kind of stuff.
I would say, I know I guess there's 3 firms on the commercial side that you can use here. They're the ones that I think I see most often and that we had submitted here for this project for completion of the review. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult. Nothing surprising.
I don't know if they factor it based upon a certain percentage of the overall construction project cost. I'm not sure how they figure that in, but if they did ask for that information and
I just remember a few years ago, I mean, Bill Chillis, there was a couple things we did and you know, there was just lawyer fees and, you know, thrown in there, you know, which we questioned and he dropped some of them, if I remember correctly. I mean, it just, I don't know. It seems like these places, especially when they're dealing with government entities. I mean, I don't know how it is. I mean, in the private world, but I mean that they're almost think they can charge anything they want. I mean, I don't know what the options are out there and stuff like that, but I mean, I know it's only $2,600, but it seems like an awful lot of money to me for, you know, I don't know. Again, I know Fred says nothing surprises him.
They do have a rate schedule. I suspect that the plan review cost is probably, as Matt said, indicated by, you know, the scope of the project.
there's electrical inspection. I think there's
Structural.
structural as well.
Then-
There's
then
small
final.
structural steel that's included.
Then there would be a final inspection.
Yeah. I mean, the, you know, administration fee or whatever, $100. I mean, I think that's just a way for, it's like when the companies started charging for fuel fees or whatever. I mean, just put your price up. Don't throw the fuel fees on there for months or years and, you know, okay. Looking for a motion to pay the bills and requisitions.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I'm not doubting that. I just.
Wait another 6 weeks to somebody else.
But I also think, again, when they're dealing with like a township or a government entity, you know, no one ever questions it. You know, I mean, it's just.
I will say I've never seen an electrical inspection be waived on government facilities, but I have seen some other sorts of building permits be waived in that regard. That's not standard across the board. It depends upon municipalities, things along those lines.
How much responsibility do they take then if there is a problem? I mean, I understand that there's some risk involved by their company that they're taking there, but. Is that an insurance they carry?
stuff.
Okay, stormwater. Checking account. Bills. $333,000.
That is the
Correct.
Greenfield Road project.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll discuss that down at old business, but yeah.
CPA.
That's correct.
Is that the company or is that an accountant?
That's
a contractor.
company.
I think they used
it's
to
a-
be called like Central Penn Asphalt or something.
Oh,
along those
okay.
lines.
Yeah, it's a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to pay the bills in the stormwater. Any seconds? Got a motion and a second to pay the bills for the stormwater. All in favor, say aye. Oppose? So moved. Old business for sanitary sewer, Stauffer Run upgrade.
So construction work has begun on the pump station. General contractor, they've worked on completion of the building column replacements as well as the installation of the concrete base and the placement of the chopper pump on there. The electrical contractor also has worked on replacement of the lighting in the building and relocated the grinder control panel. There are two change orders here for discussion and consideration, one for each contract. The first change order is number GC-01. This is for the general construction contractor for Desco Design and Construction. Covers two items, and the first item really applies to both contracts. The first item is, remember last month we talked about the delay in receipt of the motor control center along with the automatic transfer switch and the variable frequency drives for the project. Last month they had said, hey, it's being pushed back from December to beginning of May. It's now been pushed back to the end of May 2023. We talked to the contractors, and currently the contract times for substantial completion would extend until January 25th of 2023. The equipment's not even going to be received until well after that. And we've asked them to identify the additional time they would need for installation after receipt. So what we're looking at right now is an extension of 187 days to the contract, which would then push the contract time back to July 31st of 2023. So that's in order to allow the electrical gear to be received, which is out of the control of the contractor. The second item for the general contractor that's incorporated in the change order is on the suction lines of the pumps. There's a picture that there are 3 eccentric reducers. Those eccentric reducers, the ones that are existing, are 14-inch by 8-inch. The original drawings for the station had them as 14-inch by 10-inch. We didn't catch that 14-inch by 8-inch were actually installed. So the new pumps have a 10-inch opening on the suction line. And so these eccentric reducers here need to be replaced and changed out from 14-inch by 8-inch to 14-inch by 10-inch. The overall cost of that change order to replace those is $17,288.97. And of that, almost $12,000 of that cost is materials. They're just those fittings, those 3 fittings alone are almost $11,000.
11,000 more than what was originally?
Right. Yeah, this would have, if we would have caught that, they would have been 10-inch by, or 14-inch by 8-inch. We would have had in the contract initially, they should have been changed out. The 14 by 10 to work with the pumps. So the total contract value for the general construction would go from $644,302 to $681,590.97.
It's just money.
So 14 by 8 more in the contract. They're existing.
Correct, they're existing. We thought the old drawings had them 14 by 10. We never caught that they were actually 14 by 8s.
So we can put a claim into their insurance company. Learning something new every day. So do you need us to do anything about those?
So we would request that the authority approve change order number 1, which would extend the contract times by 187 days and increase the contract price by $17,288.97 to incorporate replacement of those fittings.
They're not increasing. So,
The cost, the switchgear delay is just for time. There's no change in cost.
So Matt, this change order on EC-02,
So EC-02, that's for the electrical contract. So the first item of that covers the same extension contract times, the 187 days because of the electrical gear delay. The second part of the electrical contract change order is the contractors currently replace the lights within the building per the contract. And now that the new lights are installed, staff's been in there, they've said, hey, we'd like some additional lighting to be placed in the building so we have a better working environment and we have to maintain the pumps. Previously, they were, I guess, the fluorescent style bulbs. We now have the LED ones in there. While the LEDs have a higher lumen per foot because of shadows and things created, like we were able to reduce the number of fixtures, keep the same lumens, but because of shadows, now there's some dark areas. So staff has asked that we put some additional lights in the building to eliminate some of the shadows while they're working on maintaining the equipment. So that's the first part of it. The second part is the generator room. There's 3 lights in there. We did not have those being replaced initially. So those were saying old fixtures. They'd like to say, hey, let's just replace those fixtures as well at the same time. And then the third part of it is in the wet well. Those are explosion proof lights that are original. They said we like to replace those 2 with new LEDs. So the cost for replacement and adding additional lights is $36,405.03. And the 6 LED lights, they're that are in the wet well, the explosion proof ones, they're $14,400 of those costs. So because they're explosion proof, those things there. So that's part of that. And the electrical contract, previously, this is the second change order for them. We had a previous change order would actually reduce the cost because we changed out the type of conduit. So previously, we decreased the price by $17,011.50. Now we're increasing it by $36,405.03. So original contract price was $542,250. The new price would be $561,643.53 if you elect to approve. And again, for ECO2, there is no increase in cost associated with the time extension for the switchgear.
Guess we're looking for a motion to approve the change orders, right? Anybody feel a need to do that?
I can say one thing. I did go down to the third floor, I'll call it the pump room at Stauffer Run. There used to be, I think, 6 or 7 lights down there, which the same looms with LED reduced it to 4 lights. And there's so much shadow down there with all the piping and everything. It's dark. I mean, there's areas there it's lit up, but there's areas that them guys have to work and it's dark there.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the 2 change orders. Yeah, the numbers, Vinny.
Yep.
You have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you all. Get signatures afterwards and we'll have the contract with them. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I just. Don't want to support agency.
Yeah.
Swear you want to push back things.
Sure.
On that part.
Sure. I think it's a fair point. I mean, if it continues to be pushed, I mean, there is a question on, you know, if the contractor switches to a different manufacturer, you know, what does that do for lead time? Because I'm sure the lead time for them to manufacture the equipment then too. And I'm hearing just across the board, not even Square D, like variable frequency drives or just long lead item components currently for whatever reason.
Several projects that I'm involved with, especially when it comes to switchgear. We're taking 3 alternates and we follow 3 alternates until they guarantee a ship date.
Okay.
Because if you're going all Square D, they're like the longest of all.
Are they?
G's actually we were getting our best lead times out of now, and they're not great.
Yeah.
But Square D has just missed every date. They're like really Schneider Square D is just really bad.
I think it's something.
But this has automatic
Contractor,
transfer in it, and I don't know if it's something that's an automatic transfer that makes it kind of unique or special.
They were one of multiple listed. I mean, there's Square D, Allen Bradley, like I said, GE. I don't think there's anything in the switchgear that says it's specific to Square D. So I think Eaton or somebody else like that could also supply this.
We have projects now. I mean, they're being held hostage for 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're just switching to whatever we can get.
Yeah.
As long as there's nothing unique. You get into automatic transfer, it's a little bit more different, but still. It's bad out there. If you stick with one name and, I mean, they know they got it, it just gets longer. And
Yeah,
longer.
it was not sole source to them. Like I said, there's other ones there.
Yeah.
And it's, we can always ask contractors, say, hey, is there anything else, anybody else you guys can go to, like a GE or somebody that can also supply this and perhaps quick.
Well, the other thing is we get is price escalation.
Okay.
They raise the price, whether they quoted it to you or not. I'll give you a 3-month extension and a 7% increase, and you don't like it, go get in the next line. So our day will come. Just shouldn't be building anything right now.
Is that all in Stauffer Run?
Yes, sir.
Cedar Acres,
That project still has not gotten underway. We did receive a plan for it. Went through the plan through the city and did not see a detail on how they're disconnecting the rain spouts from the sanitary sewer. So I contacted Light Heigel, who is the design engineer for the city, asked for some type of detail so we can at least review it and approve it, since it is dumping into our line. I did receive a phone message from the guy this afternoon. I was in a meeting and he said the contractor's taking care of that. So I'm going to give Light Heigel a call tomorrow and say, I need some type of, we don't know if the hole was cut with a Sawzall. You know, was there a fitting that they installed on the line? We don't know what's there. So my idea is just remove it, whatever's there, and put a stainless steel band with a rubber grommet around the hole that's in that line to stop infiltration. But we just don't know how it was connected yet. So I'm going to give the engineer for the city, or who designed it for Cedar
Meaning
Acres,
how
a
they're
call.
disconnecting.
They are disconnecting the
Yeah.
sewer
So
or
you don't
the
know the
the-
stormwater from the
downspouts.
sewer, so you don't know how they're disconnecting from your line.
No idea.
Right.
Well, it's actually a private line, but their private line dumps into our line. So we should have some say of how it gets sealed. They
You
said they were gonna-
You technically would be able to inspect it.
Yeah, from what I hear is they're gonna cut it a foot away from the main and put a cap on it. Well, we don't know how it's tied into the main. Did the contractor use a Sawzall, a grommet tool, cut a hole and stick a piece of pipe in there and foam it? We have no idea. So we need to know how they're disconnecting the rain spout and sealing that pipe.
So that's going through the city, because that's city annex property.
It's city-owned property, but it's a private sewer line.
It's a private sewer line.
Yes, which that
Dumping
private
into
sewer
East
line,
Lampeter's sewer line.
it comes into our sewer line at the bottom of Cedar Acres down by the stream behind
Yeah.
Hack. So eventually it gets to our line. So I feel we should have some say on how that's disconnected from a
Sure.
private sewer line.
You would think so.
So there's no detail on the plan that I was supplied by the city. So that's, I'm throwing questions and at this point not getting any answers. The project has not started yet. So got the name of the contractor, but I'm going to go through the engineer
There are a
first.
lot of different downspouts and a lot of different connections.
They found two.
It's hard to tell from the information that we have at this point. They know that some of the downspouts, I think there were 4 buildings, downspouts that go into the sanitary line. So they're creating a new stormwater system arrangement that'll capture that water and discharge it as stormwater above ground. But then our remaining question is, okay, how are you disconnecting?
And that's not East Lampeter's jurisdiction, because it's not.
It's all in the city. But the sanitary, the sanitary line that serves Cedar Acres.
How do we even know they're getting all the connections?
They're supposed to test after all these, the connections they found, they're supposed to test again afterwards. Dye test and smoke test. They did find a yard inlet that was tied into the sanitary also. So there has been some testing going on, and the city's stormwater management team has been spearheading the investigation and inviting us along if we wanted to. So now the plan came out. I didn't see the detail of the disconnect, so that's why I'm questioning.
The city's gonna give us some credit for over all the years pumping that into our,
We're gonna do a calculation. Once this is all done,
how
When
much
that
it's
was
changed.
built, was it East Lampeter at that point?
I don't think so. I think it was probably,
It's pretty old.
yeah, it's old.
It's older than me.
That's not very old.
Oh, jeez, Hell's Rock.
You'll get your day someday.
I mean, our kids are the same age, Rick. Um, So I don't know the answer to the question. I suspect it was annexed in order to get sewer service. Or water service.
It was annexed around that Pensapreme dairy time, wasn't it?
Right, all of that happened because,
That goes back into the seventies.
Oh, more than
Oh,
that,
before
probably in
then,
the
yeah.
sixties.
yeah, it's-
60.
When
Oh,
that
yeah.
Penn Dairies was originally built.
Yeah, that was built before I even remember. Yeah. That goes way back.
Yeah.
So maybe Cedar Acres isn't that old. But it's a screwy deal.
Yeah, we do have metering information from about November, December of 2021, when we found out this problem. So we threw our flow meters for our sewer line down on our lines just for about a month's worth of calculations. Then once these are disconnected, maybe throw our meters in there for another month to see if there's a big change. Then we can start conversation.
Wow, after over 40 years, that's gonna be a lot.
Yeah. But there's calculations of how much roof surface there is, but,
You'll never get anywhere with it, but it's always something you can
oh, I understand.
discuss. Oh, yeah, I know.
We'll get our day someday.
You'll get your pound of flesh.
Ultimately, it might be, okay, why don't you meter this flow
Yeah,
before it gets into our line?
right.
Okay, you don't have to pay this charge or credit or whatever, but meter that flow. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
because
work on it.
they're based on water meter readings there.
Right.
That's how the city bills their sewer. So they're billing as water meter customers, not sewer flow.
Right.
The credit that we get off of our sewer flow that is metered is based upon their water meter.
Oh,
There's an avenue here
So
we're
we're
taking.
gonna work on that.
Any other old business under sanitary sewer? Old business under stormwater, Greenfield Road, Amtrak Storm Sewer Project.
Pipeline and structures are complete. There is a punch list to go. I think we withheld $34,000 from the project. Some of the restoration work needs to be redone. There was some debris in the pipeline that we want them to flush out. There's line painting in the one parking lot they have to do. But all in all, good contractor to work with. There's
And that's at CPA.
That's CPA. They are not a firm that deals with money.
Sounds like it,
But,
333,000.
They are actually doing a project over in East Hempfield now. I just got a call from another municipality, getting background checks on them to see how they are. Open communication, any issues, they called right away. Project got done. If they wouldn't have hit the rock through the parking lot at 160 Greenfield, they'd have probably been done in about 2.5, 3 weeks, but they were probably delayed a week going through that parking lot. So there's still some work to do. There's some open money there. They're not fully paid. But that job's pretty much wrapping up.
Sounds good.
The other issue that is still ongoing is resolving the restoration of the parking lot at 160 Greenfield. So that isn't quite resolved yet.
They want re-macadam. And
Well, we think what they're asking for is to seal the rest of the parking lot so that the color isn't
Looks the same.
different. So
There is a discoloration.
The new black is blacker, yeah. And then, we've got to repaint the lines, but. So
Hmm.
at this point, we've communicated back to their attorney, through our attorney, through Matt Green. And we're waiting for communication back. They've sort of gone silent again. So that seems to be their method of operation. But if we get to the point where the contractor needs to close everything out, he needs to paint the lines and we need to finish it up. So hopefully they get back to us soon.
Any other stormwater old business? New business, sanitary sewer cities flow monitoring project.
I can't remember if we already talked about this last month or not, but the city, we had questioned the distribution of the costs for this project, which originally was calculated as based upon our share of the flow that goes into the Conestoga Gardens pumping station, which is like 80-some%. We didn't think that there was anywhere near that kind of value in this project and suggested an alternative. They came back and said they saw merit in the alternative that we proposed, but they had another alternative that they thought was better, which was basically, whatever municipality the meter is in is charged to that municipality, likewise to the others. I think we've talked internally about this and thought, okay, that's probably fair at this point.
There's guys out here.
But-
I don't know whether this makes a difference. They just come in.
Thanks, Charlie. We'd like to make sure that when the usefulness of some of these meters goes away, because some of them we feel are redundant, they're metering the same flow that is being metered by permanent meters of ours. So they wanted to get enough information to develop a comfort level where they could say, okay, the permanent meter is giving us good readings. We don't need the temporary meter in order to get the same information. So the provisor would be, okay, you give us the information as well. We get a chance to evaluate it. If we think the meters ought to come out, but you still want them in, then, we're not going to share in that cost anymore. So I think that's the response that I'd like to give to them. And the project's been going forward. They obviously installed the meters. They wanted to do this as quickly as they could and get through the rainy season, which, this year has been kind of dry. But that's what I would plan to do in response to them and see if that is satisfactory as far as they're concerned. And then obviously when the project wraps up, see what the information looks like. And the next phase of this project that we're expecting that they've talked about is actual physical inspection of these transmission mains to determine their condition. If the metering project indicates that, the size of some of these pipes needs to be changed, they need to be upsized because there's more flow, or one of the partners is expecting more flow and they need more capacity, then the condition doesn't really matter very much. But if it's, the pipe size is fine, we just need to check the condition. They've been in the ground for 50 years. So we want to see what condition they're in, and if they need to be replaced or they need to be lined or something needs to happen to them, that'll be the next project. So we're still evolving, but as far as the metering is concerned, I think the arrangement is much better than what was the original proposal. And so I think we can come to that agreement.
Okay. Greenfield North Sewer Permit.
Please include in your packet, there's some paperwork there regarding Greenfield North. So Greenfield North is a project that is being developed by High Properties. It's north of the Greenfield, current Greenfield site. But High is proposing to develop what they're calling Greenfield North site to include a bunch of multifamily housing as well as townhousing. And I think it's ultimately 600 plus units that are going to be installed on that site. So probably about 40, some of those are townhouses, the rest are multifamily housing. And in order to provide sewer service here, High is proposing to extend a gravity sewer line to this. A portion of the sewer line, a current sewer line actually already exists along a portion of the route. So High is proposing to, because of the flow volume, that line needs to be upsized. So they're proposing to replace that line at a deeper depth and upsize it from an 8-inch line to a 12-inch line. They've actually just received their planning approval from DEP for the project for sewage planning. One of the conditions of that by DEP was they need to get what's called a water quality management. The old term was a Part 2 permit because of the flow volume and the pipe size that's being installed. The line that is off of the High property will ultimately be offered for dedication to the authority. And because of that, that permit, the name of the permit, the applicant would have to be East Lampeter Sewer Authority. So what High has asked is they're in the process of filling out the paperwork. They would like to be able to have the authority acknowledge that they would be the applicant, approve that, and when the paperwork's ready, be able to sign the documents. So we've been reviewing the plans for this work. We would likewise review the permit application, and once we believe it's in a satisfactory state, then if you so choose, provide it to you for signature.
What's the downside?
None.
I only had one question about the design from what I could tell by just glancing at this, the upsizing of the existing pipe, that'll go all the way into the pumping station.
It would tie into the 21-inch line. So it's currently an 8-inch line that ties into the 21-inch line. One manhole run up to the pump station. So it would be starting at the 21-inch, it would be 8-inch across Pitney Road. And then the 12-inch across Pitney Road and 12-inch parallel in Pitney.
Yeah, they're replacing that crossing with 12-inch tying into the manhole that goes underneath the goat path, and then running 12 up.
So this will be installed along Pitney Road and then along Greenfield to their site.
So they're gonna replace this
So
manhole.
the 21 is running here.
Second part of this, it's not part of the water quality management, but High has asked if the authority would be amenable to allowing the sewer replacement work to proceed prior to a land development approval, an ultimate land development approval for the facility. So they, in our meeting with High, they indicated, assuming they can get the DEP permit approved by December, they would like to start construction then. But they don't think they would be in a position to have all their financial security and everything posted for the site for the overall land development of that. And wanted to see the authority's position on proceeding with the off-site work separately from the on-site facilities.
And I wasn't sure if that's a solicitor question. it has to go there to say, okay, they don't have a recorded plan yet, but approved lower sewer line off-site, can they go without a
I
recorded?
know when we
plan?
did, I know when the Devon Creek development was done, there was some off-site improvements they had to do, and there was. They also were doing a pump station. There was a whole developers agreement that was prepared that covered all those items. I wasn't sure if something like that would be this time as well.
I would think the authority needs something to protect the authority. You know, as they're doing this work, if there'd be some damage to the system or there'd be, you know, sanitary sewer releases that they would be responsible for.
Where they're proposing the new 12-inch sewer is not the same place that the 8-inch existing is.
It is.
Oh, it is.
For a portion of it, they're looking to replace in the same.
Where it
track
goes
line.
down along Pitney Road.
Correct.
Well, they're improving our sewer system, so what do we care?
Well, again, it would be if in the process of making those improvements, they do damage to the system in some way, or they have an overflow, you know, their bypass pumping fails and there's a discharge. There's,
Something gets down into the pump
Isn't there
station.
Bonding or something for that?
well, I would think that there ought to be something, whether it's through a bond or through an
So
agreement.
you're saying
or-
this is before development plan, so they won't be posting any bonds because they didn't get their developments yet, so.
The land
That-
development has been conditionally approved already. They're just, High is saying
So
they're
isn't there
not gonna,
bonds for that?
High is saying that they're not gonna have all of the financial security posted and all of the conditions satisfied to record the plan. So they want to proceed before they have all that in place.
They talked about posting a separate bond just for the off-site stuff.
Yeah, they would post a separate bond bill.
I think that's something that the authority should require as
Oh,
part of
you're
the
saying they're
developer's
not
agreement.
proposing that. You're saying,
Well,
I
They-
agree, we should require it. Are they not proposing that?
They're developing a cost estimate for this, for the off-site work. The question is there any? Is financial security enough, or do you also need some sort of agreement for the off-site work in addition to financial security?
I would strongly recommend that an agreement be prepared, that they prepare it and present it for the authority's consideration. And it be run past Matt and both Matts.
Yeah,
well,
they want to start in January.
they want to start December, January. Due to the fact that they want to get the off-site stuff in because Ben Franklin Boulevard intersection and Greenfield Road all gets redone, widened. For the
There's
Walnut
not going to
Street
be any
extension.
restrictions from sewer capacity or water capacity to keep this from going through. Or is there?
As Matt said, they've already got their DEP planning approval for the development. So the 628 or whatever number of units are approved from a planning perspective, that everybody has capacity to accommodate them.
So. They would have that one.
Well, there has to be some type of written agreement. I agree. And there has to be some type of financial security.
Right.
Right. So they ought to present that to
Yeah,
the board to say, we'd like to proceed under these circumstances. Will you approve? And the board would consider that.
yeah, as long as there's an agreement and, hold this liability and all that kind of stuff and, some type of financial security for the cost of it, because we have to be secured if they close up shop halfway through the project and nothing gets finished and the lines on, you got to have financial security.
So I think we can respond back with that information to say, prepare this information.
It can be separate away
Yeah.
from the development stuff and just on a preset drawing. What's it is to include.
The other item, the original item was with the water quality management permit, and as was alluded to, they're hoping to start construction in December, so they can get the off-site sewer work done prior to the improvements of Ben Franklin being done. Ben Franklin Boulevard. What they're asking for is your authorization that you will sign your water quality management permit when it's ready. Because they're trying to get the application into DEP this month because of the length of time it takes DEP to turn around the review.
Yeah, they were thinking 30 to 45 day turnaround. So if you agree to sign the water quality management permit, if it comes in between meetings, I can get it back to them. They can keep.
Why would we not?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Correct.
Subject to your engineer's review.
Yeah. So do you need a motion for that or do you need a?
I would, yeah. I mean,
I'd recommend.
Yeah, I would think it's because it's between meetings.
So we would authorize Matt to sign the,
It'll be Rick
Or the
or
board.
one of the board to sign. Board members to sign.
but even if it happens in between our meetings,
Correct.
I
It's
would,
still-
I would contact.
as long as you approve it. Got all that?
Yes.
Is that a motion?
That was a motion.
Yeah. Okay, we got a motion in a second. Do you want to read that motion, Vinny, just to make sure we got
Sure, a
that?
motion is to authorize the chairman to sign the DEP application subject to the engineer's review.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Capital projects.
Included at the end of the engineer's report, just prior to the monthly construction fund, there's a spreadsheet of projects here with a red heading. So last month, you had asked that we get together with staff, come up with a list of potential capital improvement projects here over the next few years. These would be authority level projects, not the city, for consideration in upcoming borrowing. So what we've done is got together to take a look at what those potential projects could be here. If we had a cost associated with those, we put that in. These are not, I would say, in any sort of priority rankings just yet, but it's a list of projects that were under consideration. So, you know,
Why are they dated then? Or is this not?
Are you
Am I
looking at
the
the,
different? I'm looking at the, okay.
Yeah.
So the first three projects relate to the Oaks drainage basin, the two pump stations. Earlier this year, we looked at if you wanted to proceed with elimination, came up with estimated costs for those. The very first project was looking at reduction of I&I in those drainage basins because of the high flows coming to those. So that would be an investigative project followed by any sort of capital repairs. So that could be cured in place lining, or it could be even some sort of capital grouting program, depending upon what the investigation actually finds. The other ones were just south of Buckwater Road to State Route 30. This is the flow where Treehouse Foods goes through down throughout 30. That's an asbestos cement sewer main. We've had issues with corrosion of those pipes previously, so looking at cured in place pipelining of that facility, of that section of sewer mains. Another was the Mill Creek Interceptor. It'll be coming up on 20 years since that was last investigated. And taking a look at, previously what was done was just the camera inspection, but to see if there's potentially going back in now it's 20 years later to see if any other potential improvements or repairs might be needed there. 20 years. There's also a section of asbestos cement sewer main off of Hobson Road. The Hartman Station, existing Hartman Station development that's over by Devon Creek. Currently that flows through Upper Laycock. It's connected into their system, but as the Devon Creek project future phases happen, there's provisions there to allow that development, that flow from Hartman Station to be redirected. So it no longer flows through Upper Lake Dock and then down into your system, or just stay within your system, I should say, and that would save some transportation costs that currently are paid to Upper Lake Dock. The Willow Road sewer replacement and stream protection. Section of sewer main follows the stream throughout the area between Willow Road and Pine Drive, paralleling Route 23. There's actually sections of sewer main that are starting to become exposed in the stream bank itself, as well as other areas that have limited cover and are being eroded away by the stream. So we'd be looking at, can those sewer lines either be protected so we don't have stream water getting into the sewer main, or look at lowering those in sections. And then Cedar Acres flow meter pits. I think this is something that was probably looked at the late 2000s, I'm thinking, when Cedar Acres was looking to expand their facility, and would potentially tie into what Hutch and Charlie were talking about earlier about potential metering. We're looking at metering the flow going into the Cedar Acres site and then coming out, and having a method of flow to say, here's how much we actually have in the facility. Or
Yeah, but you're getting a water meter calculation now, so you're spending dollars to save pennies potentially. Before, it was going to be paid by the developer. So,
I think before it was 2 meters, one by the developer, one by the authority.
yeah, I
So,
can't see spending money in that.
and then the other projects there, these were from the 537 plan about future sewer extension.
How realistic are those numbers on all these projects?
The only costs that are, I would say, realistic are the ones regarding Oaks Pump Station. The other numbers for all the sewer extensions, they're 1999 cost estimates that just indexed up to current. So they haven't been looked at since.
So it could
then.
be 2 or 3 times that.
So, correct. So those are,
They indexed them.
right, we
Pardon?
indexed them. They're 1999, we indexed them to current just based upon that.
You've indexed them off of that 99 price, so it's not 99 prices.
Right.
I see.
In talking with staff as we were developing the list here, they said they had had calls at times with Springdale, Strasburg Pike, New Holland Pike. That's why they were closest to the top of the list for potential projects.
And it hasn't been like 6 people call me. I'd get a phone call. And then a year or 2 later, another person would call. And maybe 3 years later, somebody else would call. So it's not like everybody's failing at the same time. But I would imagine their systems are getting old. I know Strasburg Pike, a lot of their systems with those lots that back up to Mill Creek, they're out of room. So put another system in there, it's going to be tough for them. But that's the capital projects we wanted to come up with to throw on the table.
But you can't think of a failing system in any of those project areas?
That's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm getting phone calls. It's not everybody. But like Springdale, they were selling a lot out there probably a year and a half ago, and they had a failing system. And then 3/4 of the way up the street, somebody else failed 2 years prior to that.
I'm not familiar with where Springdale is.
It's off of
Pine
Pine.
Drive.
Drive. Off of Pine Drive.
If you come off of
over
Mill
there.
Cross Road, you bank that first
Yep,
left
yep,
and
yep, okay.
like I said, Strasburg Pike, they're just running out of room down there.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's over there.
You figured it out, but
Pine Drive.
they should need a refresher.
And we do have gravity sewer on Pine Drive, so it wouldn't be nothing about pressure or anything like that.
I don't know. For some of those to get up into Springdale.
Yeah, some of them lots do sit low.
Yeah.
So the 537 plan that was approved, I think back in 2012 now. At that time, DEP had asked for an updated project schedule for these sewer extensions, and back then it was forecasted for 10 years. So 2022. Not saying that, you know, if DEP is busy with other things and they don't look at this, they, you know, probably aren't going to be pounding on the door to say, when you doing this, but they could look at it at some point. But, you know, with a couple folks, I guess throughout the years asking about it, and we're looking at funding and we wanted to include it. And, at least on the list initially. So with the upcoming borrowing, we're looking at a 40-month window of time. So taking a look at these projects, prioritizing, seeing what, you know, we want to look at here over the next 3 years or so. And, you know, maybe they're not all construction dollars. If some of these are further out, maybe there's preliminary investigation dollars or things like those ones for borrowing.
The other motivation in my mind is that, and I think as has been discussed previously, the authority was trying to figure out, okay, when are we going to run out of the money that we have in the bank right now, in order to time the borrowing appropriately. So the list of city projects is still there. So, you know, the ones that are reflected on their list are still real. They always get pushed, you know, as they come along, but they're probably more developed than these projects. So, you know, those dollars, I think we can anticipate pretty well. And then, you know, how much of these are a priority for the authority and how much of the cost, you know, the engineering, you know, when would that happen? Would that happen next year, the year after? Would the construction happen within that 3-year time frame? So how much money, when do we need to borrow the money? And then how much does the authority want to borrow to do identifiable projects? Because when you're doing the borrowing, you have to identify, okay, this is what we're borrowing the money for. And typically that's a 3-year window.
What are the rates, Fred?
Getting higher every day. But the bond market's still soft. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's goofy right
It's
now.
goofy. It should
Yeah.
not be soft right now. It is.
It's really goofy.
You'd think bonds, everyone would be rushing into them, but they're not. The bond market's soft. So.
We
I
could
mean,
get,
financially speaking, I'm not opposed to a long-term borrow at this time. Especially when you're talking about a 3-year window. But what are we going to need in that 3-year window? That was a question.
do you want us to decide?
What is it going to be? I mean, I look at I take, you know, the 5.2 minus anything with a 24 or longer handle on it. I don't believe out of that 5.2, the big one in there is the north secondary clarifier, and that is going ahead, right?
The
North secondary clarifier number 6 and return sludge pump station. Is that going ahead?
All the planning and designing.
Yes.
Number 6.
you're correct. That one is proceeding. They're actively in design of that project right now. There were some supplements previously approved because they ran into
Mhm.
an old trash dump there. The but that project is actively proceeding ahead.
Right.
That would be something I think actually is needed to get the,
And the south primary clarifier upgrade, are they actively involved in that?
yes, actually, that's gonna be on the next, one of the items on the next agenda item here for escrow
Okay.
agreement for that.
So general sites improvement paving, I guess that's nothing. North primary clarifier upgrades.
That is, see if that one's on.
Says they started September 22 design, but did it really start in September 22?
It did not. So that one we haven't received the escrow agreement for, but maybe December time period, may come through.
Okay. WWTP outfall expansion.
That is one, they're saying would still proceed with. They're hoping to get some grant funding for that, so maybe the overall amount is reduced.
Hope is not a strategy.
I think-
So you lose my interest past that spot. So out of that 5.2, you still got over 4. You may need in 3 years. Right, I'm reading this right. It's
Right.
5.2 is what you're short.
Correct.
That you do not have funds already borrowed. We do not have funds borrowed to cover your 5.2 short. There's at least 1.2 on there that I don't believe is going to happen. So you could talk me into 4. And then there's things like on your project list, that Oaks project where we actually get paid back by spending that money. So there's another 1.4 that actually makes sense to me. If you're eliminating pump stations, that's always a good
I
thing.
agree.
So now we're up to 5.4. The Buckwater Road asbestos cement, the Hobson Road asbestos, that's probably good practice to do that. It's going to collapse someday.
Right.
And the rest of these are really areas that have been that way forever. We don't have that much failing problems. I mean, is it really our initiative to spend that kind of money to just piss more people off to connect to the system?
Well, the one I was looking at was that Willow Road sewer replacement. I mean, we have a lot of sewer line that's starting to be exposed in that stream.
I'm sorry, what was
The
that?
Willow Road sewer replacement, we don't have a number next to that. It's
Oh,
from-
Willow Road sewer replacement.
Yeah, from Willow Road up to Pine Drive, we're starting to notice areas where the sewer line is starting to be exposed.
Oh,
in-
well, that's, of
in the-
course, yes, you don't have a number for that.
We don't
yet.
have a number for
All
that.
right, so I'll give you an X on that one. So I have 5 X's on that page and I don't have, there's not numbers filled in for them.
If those are projects that you're looking at, I mean, we can do some conceptual level planning to come up with some numbers there for that, for the investments and for this purpose.
Because I'm looking at, 4 million plus what's on this sheet. This sheet of those 5 projects, Oaks Pump 2, Oaks Pump 1, Buckwater Road, Hobson Road, and Willow Road. And that's preventive maintenance stuff that should be done, right? Right?
Correct.
That Mill Creek Interceptor investigation. I've been on this authority that long that I remember the last time that was done. Actually, am I? 20 years?
So
Yeah,
probably,
I thought it was a waste of money back then. I still think it's a waste of money.
yeah, that actually.
I think I fought that with, who was that, Charlie?
Charlie.
Charlie
Lefevre?
the chair?
Lefevre.
Yeah.
Yep. And Ray Miller was with HRG at that time. Yeah.
Where you're at 5.4, right?
Well, I'm at 4. Well, see, we don't have numbers for those 3 items.
Yeah, but for the station elimination.
Oh, yeah, 5.4 if you take a
Yeah.
plus,
5
so you
Plus
could,
3 other projects.
you know, I don't even want to stick numbers to that other stuff. I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm talking about.
We can develop those before next month.
Okay, I can stick a number to
The, with the sewer extensions, I know in some other communities, we've worked with their SEO to go out and look at these areas and get their opinion on if there's areas for suitable replacement sites, things along those lines. You know, are the lot sizes sufficient? Are the systems in decent shape?
Who serves as our SEO?
Marvin Stoner.
He's been around for a while.
Yes.
So he like knows the bad areas, doesn't he?
I mean, he knows where he's been called to deal with failing systems or
Yeah.
installing new systems.
Sure. That, so that, you know, like I said, in some other areas, they've sent the SEO out, they've partnered with them to say, hey, go look at these areas, you know, is it something that these are okay? And if they are, they've written a letter to DEP that said, hey, we had our SEO investigate.
Yeah,
There's,
so, I mean, I have
and
no problem
delayed-
investigating and talking to him, but I mean, I just don't have a big appetite for this because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And until,
We get reports every year from Marv on where he's issued permits
Yeah.
for new
or
systems. or failing
citations or,
systems. Well, it's permits for new systems essentially. So,
Okay.
I mean, we could go back over the last couple of years of those reports and identify where those
you
spots
get into
were.
one of these areas and find out, you know, 4 of the 9 homes on that street just put in a new system in the last 8 years.
Right, it gets ugly then.
I'm saying maybe.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah, that would get ugly.
Oh, I know. I mean, you're just damned if you're doing that. So you know,
All right. we
but
won't
you can
spend a lot of-
focus on getting numbers for those other 3 things.
Okay.
Well, yeah, 3 things.
do you want anything with the first project with the Oaks drainage basin? Which was.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, the Oaks,
Oaks
the
pump
drainage basin, the gravity system that drains to the Oaks. Do you want anything there to look at the potential repairs to reduce I&I in their basin?
Why would you do that?
Currently, there's more flow going into the pump station than they can currently handle, so there's been some overflows. So I know at a previous meeting or so, there was discussion on, you know, let's look at there's,
But wouldn't you eliminate that?
Yeah,
if you
more-
put-
if
you
you're
just eliminate
eliminating
pump
them.
Stations?
you do. I mean,
You
you
eliminate
eliminate
the
it,
overs.
but you've got clean water flow that you're still sending to the system and paying for treatment.
The I&I is still getting into the system as I.
So do we have any tests to know if there is any much I&I there?
Just,
We know that the pumping stations are getting overrun.
Right.
When it rains.
Okay. All right. So when you say Oak Pump Station Drainage Basin, what does that entail? The Oaks,
basically Oaks developments.
much else? Probably,
little bit on
probably your
Oakview Road,
places too. No, your condos. Oh,
That's the other side of it. Goes a different direction.
okay.
It's primarily the Oaks development.
Well, if you know it overflows during a storm, I mean, you know, there's I&I, so you. It's just,
May as well add
it
that to
should
the
be that
project.
investigation and repair as you go. Don't you just do that as a T&M type thing? Because you don't know really what are they doing on a per unit price or something?
There's various methods. It's, you know, CCTV work initially, but sometimes if the water table's down, it's not having rainstorms, you don't see active infiltration occurring. So there could be smoke testing, or there's other methods where you actually go in and test each joint as you go through the pipe, and if the joint fails, you repair it. That's a capital repair project.
And you don't think there's any problem with any Oaks,
I think,
rainwater getting in?
well, I think there's
stormwater
also
and-
like a secondary investigation with sump pumps to make sure that they're not connected.
I don't think there's any basements there. Yep. Right here. I don't think there's any basements there. I think they're all slab grade.
I think you're
Oh,
right.
maybe up in the houses.
Right,
Yeah, up in the
Right,
house.
Up in the
single
houses,
family
there would
area,
be
yeah.
some basements, yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking about stormwater and, you know,
There's,
street
I think there's
storm
potentially
drain.
like smoke testing that you can do large scale where you inject air with smoke into the system and see if it comes up out of
Yeah.
inlets.
Rain spouts.
Exactly.
Okay. Then I guess we should do that too.
The only other borrowing question that I would ask you is whether or not you want to have the gentleman from PFM come and talk to you about what's happening with rates and what the cost of a borrowing would be and all the fun discussions that you always have with him.
I don't think he calls it fun.
No, it's fun for you. I don't know that it's fun for him, but
I think you got to come up with a number first and then, you know, discuss. I mean, there's options out there. There's still an incredible amount of bank lending out there on this type of stuff. You're talking, you know, under 10 million. I mean, there's a lot of bank lending out there for this kind of stuff.
The other thing I will toss out, I know the authority hasn't thought they could take advantage of loans through Penvest or funding through them. But they've, as I understand it, changed their guidelines based upon affordability analysis and such recently here. So that may be another potential option. Not saying there's
Yeah.
other strings attached when you use that.
My
money.
years of experience with that just tell me that you spin all your wheels. You never get anything anyhow because we're just too wealthy of an area. Bottom line, just don't even waste your time.
There's also, from what we've heard, an upcoming round of CFA funding, probably a one-time round of funding.
CFA,
Commonwealth
Come-
Financing Authority.
is that
Basically,
their extra COVID money? They don't know what to do with.
basically, it's money that
Gambling money is what it is.
Oh, really?
it's geared towards water sewer projects. But it's tied to your state reps, legislatures. So the two members of the House, two members of the Senate are the ones that ultimately approve the list. So if it's something you would like to go after, you really got to get your local rep legislator involved and have them push for the project. But that's the potential for grant funding, but if
What
you
do
have
you
like
think of
a
that?
better.
What do you think of
shovel-ready
that?
project.
I mean, we got some money through Commonwealth Financing for the streetscape work that we're doing out on Lincoln Highway.
Was your rep instrumental in getting that done?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, both the House and the Senate side. On the House side anymore. To talk to Steve. November.
Yeah.
Um, It does take, we had consulting assistance with that effort to get those dollars. So it does take
Is it worth it?
significant energy.
Is it worth it?
Yeah. I mean, we got We got $1 million out of CFA for the streetscape project.
Well, I still don't think it would affect the borrowing. I mean, you still want to borrow any amount, but if you were lucky enough to get some of it, then you just open up some other project.
Could we get a couple different numbers, like 4 million, 4.5, or 5, and maybe 6, and see what the rates are?
I don't think your rates are gonna vary that much on that range. You're gonna be in the 6, at least 6 to 8 range. Ain't gonna, unless you're gonna get up to 12 to 14 range, then you can.
How much did we borrow last time, Hutch? Do you recall?
I don't remember if any.
It's like 5, maybe?
And I'm sure, I mean, all the refinancing is off the table because anything we got is cheaper than what we're gonna get. So
Oh, yeah.
that's going.
Mhm.
So you're really looking at, what your needs are. You might be in the 6 to 8 million range.
There'll be different options into how it gets fit into the debt schedule.
I was gonna say, how is our debt schedule looking right now? So I haven't seen one of those ladders for a while.
I haven't looked at it recently either, so that's something that Scott would prepare to show you what it is currently and what it could be
Yeah,
going out. That's part of the work that Scott would do.
because I mean, usually you start really lightening up somewhere out there and that there's a sweet spot out 7, 8 years or so.
Right.
So that's worth looking at. So to answer the question, I'm not, I mean, I think if we can get those 3 numbers and come up with a total number and then have them in here to talk about it.
Okay, we'll try to organize that for your next meeting.
Any other new business under sanitary sewer?
Yes. So there are 3 requisitions, I'm sorry, 3 easement agreements. Sorry, 3 escrow agreements. There we go. 3 escrow agreements here for your consideration and approval as they relate to city projects. The first is the wastewater treatment plant South Train Screenings Handling Improvement Escrow Agreement. This project intends to upgrade the South Train screening and handling facilities, which were constructed in the early 1980s to produce cleaner and drier screenings prior to disposal to meet regulatory requirements. This escrow covers the engineering design plus 20% contingency, and the authority share is $37,624. The next is wastewater treatment plant South Primary Clarifier Escrow, South Primary Clarifier Upgrades Escrow Agreement. This project intends to upgrade and replace the South Primary Clarifiers number 1 and number 4, which were constructed in 1930s. Mechanical components were upgraded in the 1970s. And this is needed to provide continued long-term operation of the wastewater treatment plant. This escrow covers the engineering design plus 20% contingency, and the authority share is $45,835. The third is the North and Stevens Avenue Sewage Pumping Station Phase 3 Force Main Condition Assessment Escrow Agreement. This project intends to fix the junction of the North and Stevens Avenue force mains. At this location, a shutoff valve will be installed where a previous concrete cap has failed. And the authority share of this amendment is $25,642. And if you approve these, I believe these are actually here for signature today.
It's 812.
But it's just this,
Oh,
just that.
okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Should be. Sorry. Did I say 25?
You said 25,600, so.
So, sorry, North and Stevens Avenue, I gave you the total of all the amendments, but this amendment here would just be 17,925. So that was for the third one.
So that last one, Matt, was how much?
17,925,
So it's not the 25,000.
correct. 25,000 would be if you had the original escrow agreement plus amendment number 1.
But this amendment 2 is only 17,000.
Yes.
So we need a motion to approve the 3 escrow agreements.
I'll make a motion, we approve the escrows.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Any other new business under sanitary sewer? Stormwater new update on MS4.
The updated PRP was released on August 15th for public comment. So we have one more day remaining on that. And then by the end of this month, that will be sent to DEP for comment and approval. We're hoping for really just approval. And then in that PRP that has listed all of the new projects that we have been working on, Hack, Greenleaf, as well as the I2 Capital, which we received the finalized agreement for that group of projects to move forward. Once those are all approved through DEP, we can then start the process of payment for the I2 Capital. The Hack project is now surveyed, planting design, grading design. We meet with them again next week for their final approval on that portion of it. And then we can move to the next step. We've already had DEP look that over. We've already had all of the PNDI and other organizations that need to approve that project move forward. The Greenleaf project is with the solicitor at this point for an agreement to go through that project. And we're working on the annual report, which is due at the end of this month as well. That's all I have.
So you had a pretty easy month.
Yeah, it's pretty easy month.
Sounds good.
You can find the PRP on our website if you want to take a look. You know, reading material before bed.
So many letters thrown out there. I'm floating right now. Any other new projects under stormwater?
Tara, just so I can understand, like the David Miller invoice and so forth for all their time versus what they're doing for township projects and then for developers or land. How do you, I mean, I look at this and I'm just, this is all township projects.
Yeah, on that particular invoice, it has Greenleaf on there, which was a review of the plan to ensure that from the township and the authority perspective, how much of the additional plantings, how much of the additional excavation of the basins can we utilize in credits towards the MS4?
So that's why the township's covering those engineering fees.
That's correct. And then under the Hack piece, they're designing that. There's not an actual project going on, a land development project going on at Hack that currently. This is just solely for that stream restoration.
Okay.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Happy
happy
birthday.
Yeah.
Aren't
Do you
gonna
celebrate
start the
that
singing?
anymore?
You gonna start this?
Very good. Okay.
Thanks, Brent.
You bet. Have a good evening, everyone.
We'll see you, Fred.